And welcome back to our special coverage, tracking Dorian tonight as we look at the forecast track here. That new 11 o'clock advisory, Christy, just came down.
And we want to get right over to Betty and to Brian so they can break it all down for us. Guys?
Hi, everyone. It is an even stronger hurricane. Hurricane Dorian has maximum sustained winds of 140 miles per hour, moving west-northwest at 10 miles per hour. That pressure at 948 millibars. So we've seen that number drop off, an indication that it is indeed strengthening. Now 545 miles east of West Palm Beach, Florida. This system is headed toward the northwest Bahamas.
You know, until Hurricane Andrew happened, we used to always say, if it got north of the latitude of Miami, it was not coming to Miami. Of course, Hurricane Andrew went north and then fell back south because high pressure was so strong over it. That's not expected to happen, although the models yesterday were talking about a little dip to the south. So we don't want to completely rule that out, but we want to put that fact that it's east of West Palm Beach as a positive thing. There's the eye. Look at that, Betty. I mean, it's about as, you know, it's that kind of eye. The difference is between this and Hurricane Michael or some of the strongest hurricanes is we still see some imperfections on this side. You see that in there? See the yellows in there? It's still not, you know, that's why it's a 140 mile an hour hurricane instead of 160 or 170 mile an hour hurricane. Hopefully we'll continue to see some kind of imperfections in the system. We just don't know.
Either way, it's forecast to be strong as it's closing in on the Bahamas.
At the top end, the top end, right. Okay, so here's the new track from where it is now. Remember that the forecast tomorrow morning, what used to be 120 to 125, right?
That number is up, that is for sure. And there it is through time, approaching the Bahamas this weekend and in the vicinity of the northwest Bahamas on Sunday.
So the numbers here don't really pay any attention to this because when you get a storm that's that strong, it can't maintain itself for all this time. The numbers will go up and down and up and down. And sometimes they go down and they never go back up, but the energy spreads out and you have a bigger, fiercer storm because bigger storms move more ocean water, right? They have like longer arms to push water. So they can be more dangerous than a smaller storm with stronger winds, right? And the stronger winds are obviously bad in that smaller area, but it's a little bit weaker, but it's spread out. There's more ocean to move. There's more people. There's more.
You spend more time in
islands.
the wind.
Yes, you spend more time in it. So it's not necessarily good that it goes down if it gets bigger, and that's really is the expectation. Okay, and then here we are where we stand right now, and. All right, again, we add to our optimism. We add to our optimism here that the effects, especially in Miami-Dade and Broward County and the Keys, are going to be fringe effects.
Right, a little more of a lift on the cone, and we see that
little bit of shift to the right here. A few more track possibilities offshore. If you go right down the center, the National Hurricane Center cone, it's right up the coast, which would be extremely dangerous and devastating for these coastal communities here, because this would put the storm surge, with the wind rotating like that, put the storm surge ahead of it against this coast with the strong winds. I mean, that would be bad. So wherever it comes ashore, everywhere north of there is getting onshore, and then everywhere south of there is getting offshore. So we would get the offshore winds. We would get the winds coming in off the Everglades over top of us. So that's not as bad as getting them over the ocean.
Right.
That's the weaker side of the storm.
And depending on how close, that will determine just how strong of winds we get here in South Florida.
Right. And we just don't know how close. You know, here is a lot different than here. A lot different. Yeah. Drastically different. If it's over here, you know, it's going to be breezy. Breezy with some gusty showers, maybe with a feeder band or something, but not. We just don't know. We can't pin that down yet. But that's not till Monday and Tuesday, so we have really time to see how that's going to work. Okay, so here's the story with the models that went into that cone and why it was shifted a little bit. We have all this agreement, as you were saying, Betty, that a lot of confidence in that path coming over to the Bahamas. And the red one is the one you want to keep your eyes on. If you're looking at home, you're looking on the internet, we call it Con A and Con X just because it's consensus A, consensus X, but you look online, it's TVCN and TVCX if you're trying to figure out which line we're talking about. Anyway, that's what they are, but they're the consensus models where they're a kind of average. The difference between the A and the X has 2 helpings of the European model in it. So it's a little more European, but you notice they're not much difference in this case. Sometimes they're a little bit different. And notice that consensus, which is usually what the National Hurricane Center uses, but when there's a big shift in it like this, they don't jump on it. They kind of wait to see if it stays there, because sometimes when you get a big shift, the next one comes in and it shifts back. So they slowly move toward the consensus. They're waiting to see if the consensus stays there offshore. So we'll see about that. But now if we really look at the European individually, then it goes up the coast. So this is all really bad.
Yeah.
If this is Hurricane Matthew and maybe stronger, some kind of coastal storm, and then maybe affecting the Northeast. So downstream, when we get past Florida, so far, this is all bad. So now we add in the European.
We do, and what you'll notice, and this is the earlier run, it is right in line with what all the other models are saying in terms of the placement as we're heading out toward the Northwest Bahamas. So the agreement we talk about.
Right. So tiny bit of difference, but it's essentially the same thing. And now watch as it goes up and offshore there, but still up is the idea. So away from us. So every one of these goes away from us. And that's why when we saw this happening today and supported, we get more than one of these model runs, we felt comfortable saying that we have this guarded optimism that we're going to be okay. We're just going to get a fringe of this and it's going to move away. And we worry about our friends to the north in this state and other states going up the coast. So there we are with the cone as it stands here tonight. And good news is that the cone is leaving us. But remember, there are effects of the hurricane outside the cone, which I know you mention every time we show the cone practically.
Exactly. And we'll be talking more about that coming up here in a few minutes. Christy and Calvin.
Okay.